We're just doing a little bit of review for those starting the video right now. This is how to factor this. And then I think about the signs and I go, it has to multiply out to -5, so it must be a plus and a minus. And then how do I make a 5 with a 5 and a 1? And if you weren't sure which place that would go, the way you can check is you multiply it all the way out. And you would get this. And then you know you did it right. And if you don't get that, then you'd have to rearrange and move the 5 and the 1 around. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Sweet. Next one. This one comes up literally today's homework, and it's again on the test. So 3 squared would be 9, but this is not 3 squared. This is 3, you know the word for that? Cubed, and that's 27. And then a to the second to the third is a to the 6. All right. If you didn't know how to do that kind, learn right from this. Like, look at what we just did, and you got to know that. All right, the next one. Do you agree we just did things like f of x yesterday, and then we'd stick numbers in like that? Stick a negative number into that? That is not really like, ooh, I've never seen that before. You saw it yesterday. So hopefully you did this right. Now, I'm human. I make dumb little mistakes, and you'll see me do it in class. Doesn't mean I don't know math, but I go a little too fast. So maybe you made a dumb mistake, but if you didn't even know what to do, I don't think you were paying attention yesterday. Stick a -1 in here. -1 in here. Now you got to be really careful because it's in parentheses. You should know that because variables are like an empty parentheses. If it wasn't in parentheses, it would have come out negative. But it's in parentheses, so it comes out positive. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 negatives here makes +2, +1. And we're talking 6. Raise your hand if you had 6. Nice. Okay. There we go. Now those are basics. I'd want everybody to be like, those should be a lock. And I know there's probably some of you that only got one right on that. You need to work on that. Maybe you should come in the morning and get some help. For today, that's pretty much yesterday's stuff where you evaluate an expression. You stick a number in, okay? Or sometimes we stuck in like A instead of sticking in a number. But this is the new thing, which is we're going to get our answers off equations, tables, or graphs. We did a lot of equations yesterday, but the new kind is you're getting f of a number off of a table or a graph. So this is the review page. That's a little too easy. Would you start with that one? G of -3. Take a second. Stick the number in. If you're used to a math class where you just listen to the teacher for 20 minutes or a half hour, I'm not that. You've got to write every few minutes. You could see a brain scan of you. It would be lighting up a different part of your brain than just listen. And that part's better memory. All right, did you stick the -3 into the g function? If you put the -3 right here, all you're doing is getting the problem, which is g of 3 is, over here is where your answer comes out. -3, since it's in a parenthesis, that's going to come out +9 plus 1 is 10. Who had 10 for your answer? Good. All right. Way, way, way harder. Let's get somebody who's pretty good at this to tell us what's the first thing they should do, because then I think they might be able to get it. But a lot of people are just going to sit here stumped. Who thinks they know? What's the first thing to do? What do you think?
You substitute gx with x squared plus 1.
And your way of doing it would probably work. I get what you're doing. You're going to try to figure out what that is and stick it in there. And you're not really wrong, but I want to show you an easier way. Welcome. Have a seat. Thank you. So, can you tell me, didn't I tell you yesterday that f of x is kind of like y? Didn't I say f of x is like y? So isn't g of x kind of like y also? So isn't this kind of like 2y equals 34? Isn't it? Yeah. So then isn't y really like 17? So isn't g of x really 17? Now, your way of doing it would have worked, but I think this is easier. If I divide both sides by 2, y, f of x, in this case, g of x, will be 17. Now, is that the final answer to the question? No, I want to know what x is. So they must have told me something else about g of x besides that it's 17. I know that now. Well, there it is. G of x is actually x squared plus 1. I'm going to write them right next to each other. G of x is x squared plus 1. I know two things about it. It's kind of like you're trying to solve a crime, and now you have two pieces of info about the suspect. Not only was he 6'5", he was also, had dark hair. Well, I know that's going to help narrow it down. Okay. G of x is 17, and G of x is x squared plus 1. I know two things. But since G of x is 17, can't I just put the 17 right here then? If G of x is 17, then 17 equals x squared plus 1. Take a second and solve it. And about a third of you will get it wrong. I'm warning you. It's trickier than you think. Don't you just subtract 1? Yeah. You do. So how could this be that hard? He says like half or a third of the people are going to get it wrong. X equals 4. That was super easy. What's wrong with my answer? It's not 4. It's 4 and negative 4. Isn't that easy to miss? Wouldn't negative 4 also work? Negative 4 squared is also 16. It's easy to forget, and it feels like, that's a cheap, sucker punch. Yeah, it's going to happen all the time. And it doesn't just happen in this class that people forget that there's two answers. It happens in calculus all the time. They call it the lost solution. Because you just get the easy one and you forget, there's another one. All right. So, watch out. It's probably going to be on the test. You'll be solving along and you finally get to the end and it's like x squared equals 25. Phew, the answer's 5. No, you lose all the points. Got to save x equals 5 and x equals negative 5. I want to show you the work on it so you know how you're supposed to do it. It's okay. You don't have to show this each time. But square root of x squared is the absolute value of x, and that's the part people don't get. Everybody knows square root of 25 is 5. But the reason there's two answers is because this is an absolute value, and do you get what's in those? Could be either 5 or negative 5. That's why there's two answers. And this is a truth that tons of math teachers don't even know. They think the square root of x squared is just x. It's not. And I can prove it if you're like, no, it's just x. You're just saying that to make it complicated. No, this actually is, if you graph that, you graph exactly that. You type in Desmos or some calculator you trust. You type that into the calculator and you graph it. Graph exactly that. And the graph will come up with this weird V shape. You know what the V shape is? It's the graph of absolute value. That's what absolute values look like, is a V shape. So, moral of the story, it's an absolute value of x, which is why there's two answers. So then you split it into two things. By now, hopefully you remember, it's on the Silver 20. How to do absolute values was you split it into two things, x equals 5 and x equals negative 5. Okay. All right, let's move on. So here's the new kind. The first time you see it, it's a little confusing. After you do 2 or 3 or 4 of them, you'll get the easy ones. But then there's really hard ones at the end. They're still confusing. So stay with me. Because the easy ones, at least you got to know how to do the easy ones by the end of the hour. Okay? All right, here's an easy one. What's f of negative 1? Well, let's look at this chart. Do you see that there's a whole row of f of x things? And the other one's g of x. Do you get if I'm doing f of negative 1, I'm not even going to use the g of x ones. I'm just going to draw a line like this, and you can too, and you can erase it in a second. My chart is instantly way smaller. Now, f of negative 1, it's really common for people to go, okay, well, there's the answer. If you think about it, if that's the answer, then what's the answer? That's not the answer. That is not f of negative 1. That's not. Otherwise, all you've got is f of negative 1 again. You don't have an answer. So, you have to ask yourself, as you look at this, isn't this where the x goes? Isn't it supposed to be like f of x? So didn't they really tell you, by giving you this, didn't they really tell you that x was -1? So that's what you have to ask yourself each time is, what did they tell me? And then what is the answer supposed to be? They told you, by giving you this, they told you that x was -1. And they want to know what the answer is, which is not what x is. They already told you what x is. They told you x is -1. So I'm going to go look at my chart here. And x is -1 is right there. That's where x is -1, right? So by now somebody has put it together. Raise your hand if you think you know the answer. All right. Then, one last time. They told us x was -1, and they told us we're going to use the f function. I'm going to circle the f row. It's got to be somewhere in there. And if it was just this, then I'd be done, and I'd be like, well, what's the answer then? It's not that. It's not that one. X is -1 is like this. That's the x is -1 group. And now you see they overlap at 5. Who knew it was 5 all along? All right, a few of you. So I'm going to say it again. F of -1 is 5. Would you please figure out what f of 0 is? F of 0. What is f of 0? F of 0. Well, the first thing you should ask yourself is, did I tell you x? I did. I basically said, hey, x is 0. And then you're supposed to be able to tell me the answer, which is f of 0. It's not this one anymore. It's that one, and so it's 2. Who knew it was 2? Raise your hand if you knew it was 2. Good, now we're up to almost everybody. Yay. Let's do just a couple more. What's g of 2? Well, I got to reveal this now because it's the g function. G of 2. G of 2. G of 2 is 3. Raise your hand if you knew that one. Good. Now, have you processed yet that that means the point would be 2, 3? Process that for a second. That's a point. Because x is 2, I kept telling you that, the spot in the parentheses, that's the x. X is 2, y is 3, 2, 3. See how that's actually a point? All right. I want to go to the side for a second because the last kind we have are on graphs, and I want to show you how that ties in. If I have a graph that looks like this, and this is the point 1, 2, and this is the point 4, 3, and let's say it also goes through over here at -2, 2. Then f of 4 is 3. That's the x, that's the y. F of 4 is 3. I know that because of this point right there. What could you tell me about 1, 2? You could tell me f of, say it if you know it, 1 is 2. And over here, f of is, yeah, awesome. So if I had just given you this chart and I had said, hey, what's f of 1? Do you get how you could have found it? What's f of 1? Well, you go f of 1. Oh yeah, that's the x. Basically, he just said x is 1. And so I should probably say that's my answer right there. And what is f of 1? It's not 1, 2. F of 1 is 2. See what I mean? Or if I said, what's f of -2? You see it? Yeah, it's sitting right here. -2 would be 2. Okay. All right, now back to these. I want to make sure you're really good at this chart before we get into the harder ones. So I'm going to make up a few more before we do B, C, and D, because they're really, really hard. 3 more relatively easy ones just to make sure you got this. What's G of 0? And look, there's zeros all over the place, so be careful. What's G of 0? Don't say it. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to make sure you think you know what it is. The answer is a single number. Now compare with the kid next to you. What do you think G of 0 is? These two rows? These two rows?
This is way easier than so far.
What's G of 0? I hope you went G of 0 is -1. Who had -1 as your answer? Nice. Okay. Now, it's time to make the leap. Instead of G of 0, what if I said G of X is 7? And my new question for you, G of X is 7. Now that's completely different because I didn't tell you the X, did I? You get how the X is a variable, like we don't know what X is? So it's kind of like Jeopardy. I told you the answer and I want to know what the question should have been. G of what should have been 7? Now I know some of you are just going to naturally go, oh, that's easy, it's this. Other people are going to be lost right now. G of X is 7. So ask yourself, did I tell you the X? No, I didn't. So it's got to be done differently. Write down that problem, and underneath it, please write X equals and what you think it is. Don't say it, write it. If G of X is 7, then what do you think X is? And I'm going to ask you to show that silently to the kid next to you, and you guys can compare. You said the same X equals thing. All right. So here's what you should have been thinking. They did not tell me X, so I can't do it the same way as the other ones, but it must be somewhere in here that G of X is, oh, that's this spot. But they want to know what X is, so then I got to go up here, and that's what X would be. Who had 3 for your answer? Cool, you're getting this. Then, would you please answer B now? Question B on the yellow page there. Do question B. Hint, there's 2 answers on that. That's why I didn't want to do that one right away. There's 2 answers. X equals this and X equals that. All right, G of X is 0. Well, they didn't tell me X this time. G of X is 0. There's actually 2 spots, there and there. And the X's that go with them would be -1 and 1. How many of you had that one right? Okay, cool. Now, back to the other kind. Please do part C. And when you're like, oh, that's different, just do one thing at a time. Figure out what you should do first on C. And it's not that scary if you just do one thing at a time. Do you have a nice, simple one-number answer? Is it 0? All right, good, you're doing it right. Like my answer wasn't 0, let me show you. F of 2 was the first thing you do. F of 2 was 0. But then what about this? -2 times what this was, that was just 0. Negative 2 times 0? 0. All right. Now this next one, I want to be impressed by a couple kids who figure it out. It's not easy. So what I'm trying to do is say, don't feel bad if you cannot figure out D. It's complicated, but I want to see who does. All right. I promise not to call on you. I just want to know who thinks they have it. Raise your hand if you think you have it. All right, that's quite a few. Now, who's willing to actually share what they think the answer is? Yes, way to be bold. All right, now, before I reveal if you are correct, would you tell me what you did first here to figure this out?
Subtract 2 from both sides.
Oh, yeah, it's an equation, right? And f of x is like y. It's just a variable, and I can solve for that variable. F of x would be 2 then. Well, that's not the answer, though. F of x is a good start. F of x is 2 means here's f of x. And he noticed that there was 2 times that f of x was 2. And it went with 0 and 4. Now, how many of you actually had 0 and 4? I want to see who had it right. All right. And there's only like 4 of you. Nice job. Now, do you get, when I do a problem and only 4 kids in an honors class get it right, that means it was clearly hard, right? There's something like this on your next test. But you just saw this for the first time. But you do need to get it. So we're going to do a couple more like it to see if we can help you get it. So let's analyze the steps. First thing you would have done is just subtract 2 from both sides and solve it. And that isn't the answer, but it's like an important clue. F of x is 2. And then you ask yourself, did they tell me x? No, there's an x where the x is. Didn't tell me x. All right. So then you go up to the chart and you go, I don't know which of these it is. So I got to find answers in there because I don't know which they were. And then you go, f of x is 2 is there and there. So that leads to that answer and that answer. Okay. So here's another one like that. And let's see if we can go from only 4 kids getting it right without an explanation. Now that I've explained it, maybe we can get half of you to get it right. Okay. What if I said 3 g of x is equal to 12, and I wanted to know what x was. I don't want to know what g of x is. I want to know what x is. They're different. What's x? All right, compare it with the kid next to you. See what you think.
I got 4.
Hearing a lot of 4s. Let's see if I divide this by 3 and I divide this by 3, do you get how that solves it? And g of x equals 4. But I didn't ask for g of x. But if g of x is 4, you go find that on the chart. Here's g of x. And I didn't tell you which x it was. We don't know which of these it is. So how do I get them to go together? You go, g of x is 4 is this spot right here. And then you go up to the x that goes with it, which was 4. That's why x is 4 at the end. Okay, those are tough. Now there's only one more concept I have to teach you, and that is, what if I give you a graph? Not that. What if I give you a graph and I ask you for what's f of 6? Now, I did hint at this earlier. I stopped, showed you how graphs should work. Somebody's going to be able to get this and be like, bah, it's easy. Don't say it out loud, please. but try to figure out what f of 6 is. The thing I kept asking you over and over again is, did I tell you x? Did they tell me x? And in this case, did they tell me x? F of 6, did they tell me x? Do I know what x is? Yes, you know what x is. What's x? 6. They told me by writing it this, they're telling you, hey, x is 6, by the way. And then you just got to figure out what y has to be. And if x is 6, you must be that point right there, which is the point 6 comma 2, where x is 6 and y is 2. And another thing I had you tell me is like f of 6 is 2 comes from that point. Look at that, f of 6 is 2. Make sense? Okay, what's f of 2 then? Don't say it, write it. F of 2 is what? The first question you ask yourself is, did they tell you x or did they tell you y? And you might be like, they're always telling you x. Nope, they aren't. They're usually telling you x. Later, the hard ones are going to be where they're not telling you x. All right, they're telling me x is 2 right here. If x is 2, it must be that spot right there, and the answer is just 2. All right, next one. F of 0 is how you start. Whenever they're complicated, just do one thing. What is f of 0? Okay, I go f of 0. I guess that's the x is 0, and if x is 0, we must be talking about this point right there, which is 0 comma 0. So I found f of 0, and it's 0. 0. Negative 3 times 0? 0. And the last one, don't overthink this. It's just 2 plus 7 is 9. It's just really asking you what's f of 9. Did they tell you the x? Yeah, they told me the x was 9. So it's that point right there, which is 9 comma 1. How many of you had the last couple right? Okay, good. Here's where they're going to get a little more complicated. In the last one, it's probably going to be another one of these deals where only 4 of you rise to the occasion. I want to see who. Number 1 at the top there, you can all do that. Do it. Just do one thing at a time. Figure out f of 9. Figure out f of 1. Divide them. F of 9 was 1. F of 1, that's here, was 1. 1 over 1 is 1. Cool. Now try the second one. I think many of you will get the second one, but few will get the third one. Let's try the second and the third one. Some of the numbers, kids have been picking at them, and so they're coming off, so I like to fix those. Is there any other desks that have a number that's kind of like frayed and falling off? Your desk number? Okay, cool. All right, check with the kid on the second one. Not the third one, just the second one. See if they got the second one.
What I did, I just took the Y. I don't know if it's took the Y.
They just took on, I had a guess, but.
I was like, we're good over two. I don't really know. Might be tripping.
All right, so here's the last couple problems. And then you're going to get a bunch of time to work, and it'd be really smart if you work with a kid in here Now, during work time, I don't require you have to work with the kid next to you. Obviously, if you used that, a few times during class, you probably know them a little bit. But if you know somebody else, you want to go sit by them during work time, that's fine. There's not a ton of extra desks, obviously, but if you wanted to get together with a friend, like literally sitting on the floor in the back or up here, and there's a desk up there, there's a chair here you could grab. So if you want to work with another person, that'd be really smart, because these are not easy. And since it's a Schoology quiz, I'll tell you the answers for the first couple, but then you can't see the answers. They can't like go check and see if you're doing it right? So it'd be really helpful to talk to another human and say like, what'd you get for number 3? Okay, so please be wise about asking for help on these. Okay, so x when f of x is 8. The first thing you ask yourself is, did they tell me x? They did not tell me x. They told me y, because f of x is like y, right? They told me y was 8. And y is 8 is that point. And what point is it? It's at 10, 8. So again, they told me the y part. They want to know the x part. They want to know that f of 10 is 8. And x is 10. I'd be fine with this answer or just saying x equals 10. All right. And the last one, and I know some of you probably figured this out, but it won't be many. This is very tricky, so pay attention. And again, just because I say it's really tricky doesn't mean you don't have to learn it. Yeah, there's going to be questions like this, so pay attention. Here's my best way, and this is literally like the last 3 minutes of the lesson, so focus. Here's how you do these. You scribble this out because it's just too much to comprehend to start with. And you just ask yourself, f of what would be 1? F of what would be 1? That's a point. Somewhere on here, f of something is 1. Is this the x is 1? Are they telling me? Hold on just a second, sorry. Are they telling me that x is 1? No, they're telling me that y is 1. So I got to find a point where y is 1. That's a spot where y is 1. I know, there's more to the story, but for right now, that's a spot where 9 and 1 go together. It's 9, 1. And f of 9 is 1. Now, I know there's another place, but for right now, let's just handle this one. If f of 9 is 1, that's how you should start, and you should go, well, then I want that to be 9. You want what to be 9? You want that to be 9. So now you could say that x minus 2 must be 9, and you could solve it. And the x must equal 7. Who had figured out it was 7? 2 people. All right, nice job. But don't feel bad. And I just screwed it up. I'm so sorry. I just screwed it up. What is it actually? 11. And I know some of you made the same mistake I did. I apologize to make you on that mistake. I'm sorry. Plus 2, x equals 11. Raise your hand if you had 11 on that one. Okay. So, sorry. I just tried to do it in my head. Yeah, that's the danger. I didn't show my work. Honestly, if I would have put plus 2 there, there's no way to say 9. I would have said 9 plus 2 is 7. I wouldn't have done that. So show your work. Helps you make less mistakes. Okay. Cool. It was 11. Now, does anybody have something more to add to the story? There's another point. So we go to this point right here, 1, 1. 1, 1. Why is that important? Because we wanted f of something to be 1. And what you're saying is that f of 1 is 1. If f of 1 is 1, because look, right there, then what's the final answer for that then, Jack? So you're saying if I put in a 3 right here, it'd be 3 minus 2 equals 1. X minus 2 equals 1. Add 2 to both sides. X equals 3. There's 2 answers. X equals 11 and x equals 3. Whew! Now that's a hard problem, but hey, you signed up for honors. Said, I want a challenge. If you wanted an easy street, you'd be, well, it's not like it'd be incredibly easy for everybody, but regular higher algebra is way easier than this. That's why this one's called honors. So now I don't expect you to know this tomorrow. I expect you to know by the time you take the test, and you'll have to practice it a few times, right? And that's what the homework's for. So let's start the homework. Everybody find the homework. It is a Schoology quiz. We'll do the first couple problems together, because that way we can be sure you're doing them right, at least at the beginning. And then, during work time today, I'm telling you, ask another kid for their help to like check your answers. I think you're getting that you don't get the answers revealed until you've taken it one time, and then you get the average of your scores. So if you decide, you could decide to put in crap, and then hit enter, and it'll tell you all the answers. Problem is, you're gonna get a 0 on your first try. You know what I mean? And then you're gonna average that score with your second try. Okay, so best to try and do as well as you can. Then when you see your answers, you can do it again and obviously get a much better score the second time and average them out. Okay, would you read me the very first thing they got to answer? I don't know if it's 1 or A.
A is H.
A. And it is a big table, but its bottom line is it's H of -1, right? Thank you. Can you tell me what you think the answer is? H of -1. The first thing you'd ask is, did they tell you the X? They did tell you the X. They're saying X is -1, so what do you think it is? 2 is correct. Who had 2? Nice. Okay, so that's the first blank. For the second one, and for the rest, I encourage you to talk to the kid next to you. And I know there's some stumpers in here. Do your best, and you can always take it a second try and get your average. That's all I got for you for the lesson for today. Say